Ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing? This is Onord.
This is Rangru, hello, hello, hello.
And folks, today we are on Shchedrin for a Division 1 matchup. Rang, who do we have?
Left hand side in the blue, we have Insha playing Panzer Division Tatra for Maverick income. Right hand side in red, we have Onord playing the 126th Mountain Corps, also for Maverick income. And we're gonna get an early cheeky bomb and run here from the P40N.
I love that.
He's gonna, wow.
I love that. Actually, I absolutely freaking adore that.
That's cheesy as hell.
Dude, that is so much cheese. That's like I can feel my arteries clogging up just watching it. But that's amazing. That's the kind of play that you want to see that just obliterates your early, your opponent's breakout.
Yeah, completely ruined Insha's momentum down south. As you're seeing, Onord is going to be taking up some rather forward positions with his snipers and 76 mils and the rest of his infantry coming on up. So he better get into that long position now he has this opportunity. But we're also seeing Insha actually push into the opposing lung from a different angle.
So early town's not going to be as much of an issue over here. In fact, of course, guys, usually we see this as a flipped north-south, the town at the bottom of the screen. But I don't know. I love that breakout. That is one of those things that invests an awful lot, hoping that your opponent doesn't have a crazy amount in a different freaking arterial. But if you can hit the arterial right, like right there at the crossroads, look, he just obliterated his early move. It can't go anywhere. Yeah,
it's lucky for Insha he didn't fully commit down south, like with MG support gun spam, which you usually see.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, splitting up his forces to take the other part, because that has actually paid off for him, because he's managed to capture the opposing line, not fully yet, but he's getting a good position. And that's because Onord had to spend a pretty decent chunk of money on that early aircraft, which is not, ground forces.
True. Counterpoint, it was awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
And I think right now that we are going to see a little bit of weakness, or at least in the next couple of minutes, as even these P-38s are going to be way too heavy for most of the Russian equipment to kind of stand up to.
Yeah. That's one problem with 126, is that you don't get a whole heap of armor. I mean, both division matchup, deck matchups is quite interesting, as Insha has a much more direct force with a lot of infantry spam and a lot of heavily armored tanks. Shag Panzers are quite nasty, while Onord is going to have to focus more on his air power and artillery, more of an indirect approach to probably seize the deal.
I mean,
he does not have the AT capabilities.
This is the anti-Soviet, the anti-Soviet division. This is not the way you want to play Soviets. Soviets, you just put in screaming masses of crimson tides, which might be blood, it might be Soviets. We're not really sure exactly what they are, but they're one of them. But you see, the other time here, again, we have a Hetzer in the middle, we have P-38s in every single direction, we got 231s being aggressive, which, against RPG 43s, and just, what else are you going to manage to do? There's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, Onord's little lung push is not going too well for him, just because that light armor is warding him off. And if Insha can get Hetzer onto the opposing lung, that is such a good position. It's really going to require air power to route that thing out, most likely.
Wait. Are you telling me that Insha's going to find this harder and harder to breathe?
Yes.
Okay. Just saying that the lungs are starting to fill up a little bit here, so we are going to maybe breathe a little bit easier over here from Tatra's side, but I wouldn't put my finger on that particular pulse too much just yet. So, all right, cheesy dad jokes aside, I want to take a quick look over here in the northern town, because usually this is the grind fest that we see in every single matchup, and we are seeing some fighting here, but not quite up to the usual standards. Why do you think that might be?
Just both sides going very heavy down south with that initial, very interesting deployments, just trying to rush the opposing lungs. And just pretty steady town grind, really. Onord does have the two major flag positions. We're seeing a counterattack here from Insha up north. I mean, Onord does have a bit of better fire support in the town, so he should be able to hold it.
Yep, between the Maxim and the 76-2 Bouzier over there in the back. And even the BT-7, kind of just prancing around doing its thing. I know before we got started, you were talking about the benefits of the Volkssturm over here, and I know that for me, I'm always, let's say, cool on any kind of disheartened troops. In my mind, this kind of justifies that at best they can be sitting over here as just stopgap forces, but I'm going to guess you have a very different opinion about that.
Well, the Volkssturms have Trophios with Panzerfaust for 15 points.
Yeah,
That's pretty good value.
Yeah.
And 12-man squads.
And that's kind of what I expected to hear. I think my issue with them is there's no firepower on the line. You have one MP28 and everything else other than that. Was an 1898 rifle. Yes, 95, excuse me. So other than that, it's a 50-year-old bolt-action rifle. You
just have to, get shot at. It's the other things that are meant to do the shooting. If the tanks get a bit too close, the Panzerfaust will say hello.
Yeah, but even against, less stellar Soviet infantry, if such a thing could be said to exist, They just have to draw fire. Yeah.
That's what you need to do. For 15 points, it's a really good deal.
Yeah. I just
you just don't like seeing the disheartened. It breaks your heart.
On both sides, man. If you have the potential to get your heart broken by something, you don't want to be brokenhearted already going in there, because that's half the battle. I'm just, honesty is the best policy, right? Faldiego, in the meantime, getting picked up over here by a BT-7 in the northern side, just to the east, actually, of that lung. Nice. And curiously enough, despite the fact that Onord has not invested really into his lung per se, he still has enough equipment in the area to hold pretty much all the important areas. It's very, very curious. He's at 15-9 despite holding maybe 40% of the territory.
Yeah, it's just those odd flag positions, especially in a northern central area, where Insha has managed to pick up quite a bit. Yeah, momentum is still very much in Insha's fate. Oh, a bit of a furball. Let's look at this.
Yes,
more important.
Indeed. Now, we have one P40 who can fly out like a normal individual, and two more that just absolutely can't. And, yeah, that one BF-109, if he makes it out, he needs to buy a lottery ticket and then cash it in immediately.
Oh, it's just like an air arcade battle on War Thunder, where you just see a death ball of enemy fighters, and you're the idiot. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go in and dogfight them all. What can possibly go wrong?
I was that guy for a while. Not because I played War Thunder that extensively, but just because I thought, yeah, dogfighting makes sense, and I realized boom and zoom is the way to go on everything.
Hell yeah.
12-7s on that P40, gonna get behind that BF-109, and it's gonna start to chatter here in a second, and that will be probably more than enough.
If it can catch up, I believe the 109 is it is actually quite a bit faster, but it can always catch it on the turns.
Yeah, if they weren't just click. You gotta use the movement intercept. Yikes.
Yeah, the 109's, this is...
Okay, now it's just making them look silly.
Yeah. I was going to try and bait them over the flagful in, I think.
Okay. Alright. When I'm not casting, I try to teach little conlings how to do math, and that was just a moment for me that I'm screaming like, hypotenuse! Hypotenuse! at the screen.
Intercept angle, intercept
angle! Exactly. Now the Hurricanes go the other direction, and now the BF-109s are going to pick him up, so it's going to be pretty ugly real fast.
And then we got the flagful being brought on in. So here we go. Here's our furball. I wanted to see a dogfight. Come on.
And the boss is just like, it's been a long time, guys. Can't just go home.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. The one Hurricane, he's not even going to get shots off. Nope. I forget that the Hurricane is just atrociously slow. He's gonna die. Nothing to it.
100%. And this is pretty much most of the fighters which Insha can bring out. He only has 2 cards of airplanes. So he really cannot afford to be losing these 109s, which is why I think he's playing very passively with him.
Well, he lost one to the start 109s. Yeah. So, after that entire furball, we only really have 1 kill.
Yeah.
And to the south, actually, we have that off-map that's... Can I prod on? Oh, wait. No, this isn't the off-map. I always forget. Shoot. The 189. That's an off-map, is it not?
The 189?
Yeah.
No. No, not that one.
I guess I always get confused because whenever I see a radio plus bombs. I think about last week's cast and just the absolute ridiculous recon planes that can call on artillery fire and strafe down ground troops and cook a pizza, all while, fighting the entire Eastern Front. So I get lost sometimes.
Now that one's its own off-map artillery as it brings in the bombs.
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point, that they are, we're all off-map artillery here. As a second one comes in and pins down a bunch of troops. All right. Mm-hmm. So we are seeing, it's still a 13-11. The Volkssturm are dying in the north, but in the southern side, Landesschützen and, a couple of P-Grand squads leavening that out are going to start to aggress, take this southern hilltop, and probably pick on the Sis-2, which is going to be a very, very big loss for the 126.
Indeed, Onord has managed to do a pretty good job of stabilizing the two central positions, and he's got that under control. All the way far down south, Insha's in a very good spot. If he can get some of his heavy anti-tank up onto there, he can really just start zoning out the rest of the southern parts of the map. And then up north, it's just a meat grinder, and a meat grinder will probably be for quite a while. But Insha can afford to fight meat grinders. He has the more infantry spam. They're not the quality, but they have a lot of quantity.
You're right, Insha. He has the meat. So, Volkssturm in the meantime? Yes, sir?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be a deft acknowledgement of my Arby's branding cut in, but no, okay, you're right. It wasn't that good. In the meantime, though, the blue tide is rising as the Gorno keys over here are reasonable, but they can only last so long as all of these lauded 15-point meat shields come forward and take shots.
That one DP group are using their DPs to as much effect as they can. And then the Volkssturm, of course, and Landshützen, very easy to suppress thanks to Disheartened. Will be enough to ward some of them back at least.
Yeah, actually, I was watching the Landshützen in the southern town for half a second. But even while that all developed, you see 13-11 developed for Insha. With an MG42, that DP Gruppe, it doesn't matter how good you are with that Gruppe, you don't stand up to firepower like that MG42 for very long.
Yeah, I've seen more P40 runs, and Onord has done a pretty good job as well of maintaining air supremacy, because by God he's going to need it, especially once a lot of those heavier tanks or Yank Panzers start being brought out.
That is possible, but for the moment, we haven't seen a whole lot of them. We've seen one Hetzer, and that's it.
Now we've seen a Panzer 3L and a Stug 3, so that's actually pretty decent down south, as BT Southlands have a bit of a hard time, yeah. I think the P40 is going after the Focke-Wulf. There's not a whole lot of anti-air down south, so this could be a dead recon plane.
No.
No. Is the recon plane gonna go try dogfight?
God, I hope not.
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a silly move.
Yeah, it's like kind of watching a puppy fight a pit bull.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it at the local park.
Yeah, exactly. Artillerist goes down. In fact, we actually, I think that guy was about ready to go amphibious on us there for a second.
Yeah.
Sarge does flabbergasted by the fact that we actually could see one of the most unused things ever actually get used.
Yeah, it's an odd thing, that's for damn sure. I do like that one Landshützen all the way up north, just behind enemy lines. We're like, oh god, I ran a little bit too oft.
Well, P40 gets taken down by ground fire. And this Landshützen is gonna be able to pick up, I think, this.
Second P40 goes down.
Ooh, where? Oh, down south? Oh no, beyond lines. I see it. Yep.
The two flag-filling anti-aircraft net is more than enough, it seems, and we are going to be seeing an off-map artillery 203 being brought up north to try and retake those two central flags in the northern town.
And as if Korn was raising himself from slumber, we actually see a bunch of meat come the other direction here as well. So it doesn't matter who's going to get caught in it, but that 203 has a ridiculously big splash zone, and it ain't going to be pretty here. So we're just taking a kind of a wider look at that town. You probably could cover 60%, 80% of those troops with one barrage.
Easily. And those disheartened troops will get stressed out pretty quickly. Yeah, it does seem like Onord is he's done a pretty good job considering how well, especially early on in Jimenez, grabbed territory to actually maintain a lead. And in Maverick matches like this, being able to maintain that lead in the first 20 minutes pretty much secures you the victory, as it's so hard to push in C phase with the limited income.
That's true. That's true. But the funny thing to remember here is, yes, while there has been a lot of territory gained, it wasn't necessarily translated into dead units. So there's still an awful lot of blue on this map, I would say.
Yeah.
Although after this 203 barrage, I warrant we're going to see a lot less.
Especially in the center, Insha does have an overwhelming amount of firepower to really just completely capture the central positions here. Just that one small group of Russian infantry on the left lung, and then there's 2 whole units on the right lung. And all that land shooting's actually gonna kill something behind enemy lines.
Yes, he is.
76 mil got caught with its pants down.
Yep, and northern side, Sturmgrenadiers, P-Gren, Volkssturm, doesn't matter what kind of Gren you are heading for the hills here. And a bunch of Russian infantry is just there in time to pick up that slack. Which is really, really rough, because the Sturmgrenadiers are not cheap, and they are quite powerful for what you're getting with it, and it would have been really, really great to see them in the fight. But for right now, might be seeing actually a lot of surrenders.
Yeah, it's going strictly a Russian on in. There's no leader unit nearby either, so he can pick up a few of these guys, I'd think. Maybe? Let's get a little bit closer. No, he's not. I don't think he's going to be able to, but he will force him out of position.
Which in this particular case is about as good.
Yeah.
Ooh, we missed the neighborhood for a strike to the south. Not as effective as he might have wanted to be. He did... No, he didn't really hit anything.
In the blink of an eye. Onord managed to capture the far south on hill. I haven't really paid attention to how the hell he did that, but there's a bunch of BT-7s and Gorno Strelky up here now.
Yeah, so the BT-7s were swinging around the northern slope of that for a bit, and the Gorno Strelkys were kind of just farting around, waltzing the way up that hillside. I'm not going to say I was entirely surprised by that, but I admit my focus was on that 203 barrage to see if there's anything more intense. Boston going down, so right now I feel the deadliest thing on this map might actually be the anti-aircraft net.
Yeah, Insha's definitely getting his money's worth out of those flag fillings, which is very important. That's a good play, because he cannot allow Onord to just bomb his positions to hell and back.
That is absolutely true. Gorno Strelky going down on that center hill, and P40 will be rather instructive as to whether or not... Okay, so it's pinned down, but that's really not that intense.
Yeah.
So 1410, I would argue that northern town flags not out of reach, especially as the M3 goes down, I think, over here to the P3L. So not out of reach. Difficult, yes. An uphill battle metaphorically? Absolutely. Southern side, I think, is a little bit more further out of reach, especially as another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 squads of infantry getting rushed to the front. A little bit harder to manage that.
Yeah, honestly, Insha does have a chance of retaking the Southern Hill, because he does have the long-range anti-tank firepower in his deck. I mean, that Yak Panther being brought out is definitely a good idea. It's just clearing out the hill of all those Russians is the harder part. And that usually requires a good off-map artillery barrage, or Panzerwerfer barrage, I'd guess, in this case, to route them out and then push up.
We have a 105 that's actually quite accurate. Navalwerfer is not quite fully loaded just yet, but that infantry is almost to a man completely suppressed.
Yeah. Getting some very good long-range hits, yeah. And there's, okay, no, I thought the Panzerwerfer was firing, but the 105 is just so close, it caught me off guard.
Well, the Navy will be firing probably in the next 20 seconds or so. Which we're going to kind of hang out here just to see what kind of happens with that. Gorno Strelky Superi going to be hitting that lung from the southern side. And it's going to go well initially, especially if the BT-7s move on into support. Wonder if we're going to see, oh no, that Panzerwerfer is just going to barrage the wrong target.
Yeah. It has nothing to barrage yet now. Everyone ran away.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Aiming in the correct spot. BT-7 is going to engage. The Gorno Strelky Superi are going to pound on out, and I think they're going to engage right at the worst time for them.
Yeah. I really like that maneuver of the BT-7s instead of just keeping them on the hill. He moved them at the perfect time considering the Jagdpanzer was being brought up. But the BT-7s, you don't get a lot of them in the Gorno Strike deck, but they can be such an important tank, as you don't have a lot of tanks in general. They're fast, they're mobile, and if you can take advantage of that mobility, they can really pay themselves off.
They can, yes, but they can also find themselves devastated without very little support. You see one right there actually just took one Panzerwerfer barrage and went down very, very quickly.
Indeed. And then up north, it's still just a grind, but Onord holds the flag positions. It doesn't have a whole lot to hold it with, but it's enough. And enough is enough in this scenario.
It is. It absolutely is. So, the Southern Hill, returning to that for half a second, the flag will remain in Russian hands. The first escarpment, let's call it, probably going to get picked up. Which is just, that's too bad. It's going to happen, but I just don't think there's going to be some kind of crazy rocket barrage or anything really that kind of takes the hilltop.
Yeah, we're seeing run right now, but there's only 2 shots to try to kill the Zish.
And I don't think we have... Oh, there's the open blitz. There we go.
Yeah. Definitely need some R&I and Onord pushing up with the Gorno Superiors. The Landshooters are way too close to each other, taking some pretty nasty fire support here. We've got 2 M3 Lees being brought on as well for some fire support. So really just Onord is just trying to get onto the tip of that lung. If he can get his CQC troops into here, I mean, I do like the Volkssturm and the Landshooters a bit, but they're not good in forest fights.
No, they are not. But I actually have to watch this Hetzer as it tries to engage. Well, one Lee's down. I'm more worried about that Zis 2, though.
Yeah, that's just in a pretty good fire support position. There is actually going to be pulling back considering the Lees are falling down quite quickly.
Hetzers can be a little bit hit or miss, literally and figuratively. But between the Jagdpanzer 4 and the Hetzer, very, very, very well done. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's enough. That's a good, armored support package to just zone out pretty much this entire plateau. Which is good. He can definitely pick up maybe 2 flags in Insha's case in the central, plateau position. It's just a lot of the fights are coming down to CQC fights, and Onord really comes in on top in that regard.
That's true. Sorry, I just started seeing contrails material. Oh, okay, the 762 is to the north. So they're trying to take out that flak feeling, if nothing else, which I completely understand. They've lost an awful lot of air power to that. You talked on Tuesday about having diminishing returns in terms of air support, but when you're the 126, you've got to make use of that like crazy, especially when you outnumber your opponent as devastatingly much as you do. So.
Yeah, and your opponent doesn't have a whole lot of anti-air either. It's only 2 cards. 2 good cards, a Flak 88 and a Flak Filling card, but still not a whole heap of anti-air.
That's for sure. But Gorno Strike Superiors continue to be a pain in the backside over here. Not gaining territory, not losing it, just kind of dithering away. And that's exactly what you got to be doing as we go over here in Phase C. Turned into Porky Pig there for a moment. But yeah, Komrati's doing their thing, holding the line. Gornostoki's doing their thing, holding the line. But this might be where maybe some German quality in their infantry can start kind of playing a part. Because we're seeing Pioneers and Peak Rounds with MT-26s being moved on in.
Yeah, once again, Insha does have the infantry number advantage, so he can afford to fight in these grind matches. It feels like he's so close and, mainly in the center or down south, to actually making some sort of breakthrough. I mean, down south, okay, it's 2 leads, which can prove to be a bit of a hash where I think up north he's just by good. He's not getting that northern position. It's been blown to hell and high water.
Yes, I absolutely agree on that one, unfortunately. Yikes. And the A20C coming in here is going to pound the positions on that lung.
Yeah,
Yep.
I usually only like seeing my AC-20s on hunchbacks.
It's true, the Kaliyama there. Yep. But this is definitely different kind of heavy artillery, I will say. And unfortunately, that 38T going down almost instantly to the Lees, which is kind of funny because the Lee tank, I'm always surprised by how thin that skin is.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, I really like the lead tank. It is very susceptible to other tanks, but as a fire support platform, it is not bad at all. You're probably not the most comfortable tank to be in.
Of course not. I mean, anything that celebrates a Southern General at this point is a little bit uncomfortable for anybody from the North, I'm
Well,
sure.
it depends. It could be a Grant.
That's true. That's true. At least it's not... Or it could be a Sherman and just burn everything in front of it. But we've seen plenty of those in the first place, and maybe that's why they're death traps, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Or supposedly death traps. They weren't technically. But yeah, so position over here in the south, very abortive. M3 Lee's doing surprisingly well. It's kind of engaging consistently. As all the infantry comes up the hill, gets sent right back down in boxes.
Yeah, it's just a position where Insha has not been able to bring in sufficient long-range anti-tank to deal with the M3s, and yeah, the Pioneers are just forced to retreat here.
It doesn't help the sightlines can be a little bit wonky down here in the south. Wait, maybe before first she's trying to shell nothing. He's
trying to counter battery.
He kills his disc gun and that's it.
I don't know why he pardon the voice crack. I don't know why he's trying to counter battery anti-aircraft guns when he doesn't have a whole lot of bombers.
Yeah.
Like, I understand maybe with like the recon planes, but you can still kind of use recon planes with heavy anti-aircraft pressure and just use them a bit more passively. It seems like a race of a barrage when he should be trying to hit frontline units.
Yes, like had he pounded that hilltop, that would have been a better call. Had he pounded a lot of stuff, that would have been a lot better call. I don't feel like going after a single Zis position is really the best usage of his time.
Yeah, he really needs to, because he doesn't have any off-map artillery in his deck, in the one he brought up. He really needs to use that Panzer for like an off-map artillery strike to hit the front line and then push them through, but it doesn't matter anymore because we've got the GG.
Now, the funny thing about this is that the KD on this, 100 difference, that is nothing.
Yeah, it's very close. Like, Onord was really paying the, I don't want to say iron,
the blood price.
The blood price, there we go, it's a bit more red.
Sure.
For holding those positions. Like, he had pretty much the constant point advantage, but Insha was always, like, very close in most of the flanks to actually break on through, but he just couldn't.
No.
Just a little bit too slow.
The thing is, if you're looking at kills over here, we have one Zis gun that does very well for himself, picking up 4 decent fighting vehicles. Gorno Maverick, P40. I mean, you got some guys here that are rather killy. But I mean, nothing earth-shattering. And I imagine we'll see the same thing over here for the losses as well. The P38, yeah, there we go, picking up the lead, picking up 2 PT7s. The Flak Fearling, picking up 3 kills on one Flak Fearling. 2 kills on the other one. Yeah, 1/3 of the equipment was shot down by 2 20 mm ground troops. Yikes.
Damn.
Yeah. Damn indeed. So, what do we do? As a Tatra player in the situation, what do we do better? What do we do the next time this kind of matchup happens?
I think just using Panzer like we said, I won't go into that too much, as frontline support. I don't know, maybe bring a little bit more artillery and airplanes for a bit more indirect firepower. It's just, I think the infantry just didn't have enough, especially with some of the disheartened troops, maybe rely a little bit more. I don't know, it's difficult.
It is. Honestly, for me, I would drop that 1 squad of Landeschützen and that 1 8 card of Landeschützen. You're still going to have 90 squads of infantry, and even if you lose 12 off that first phase, yeah, get some more flexibility, I think. But yeah, no, just looking ahead to the future, just for all those generals out there. So, any final thoughts for you, sir?
Oh, just very dynamic matchup, and honestly, I'm quite surprised considering how like annoying that initial bombing opening was. it didn't feel like it played too much into the outcome of the match, because Insha did manage to push on through and take good territory. Oh no, I guess I'm trying to defend the opening bombing for being cheesy, but oh.
I absolutely agree. I agree. No, that makes sense.
I'm out of words at this point.
Well, folks, if Frank's out of words, we might as well call it quits for the time being. Until next time, I'm Conolberg.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.